building on your notion that there's a sense in which we're trying to fit, square peg in a round hole here because, psychedelics are a new beast for the whole drug approval apparatus of the government. It's not merely psychedelics, at least with the MAP studies that people are talking about right now. It's MDMA-assisted psychotherapy. It's not merely a drug.
Yeah, I think that was a
Given that,
branding mistake, by the way. But hey ho.
well, yeah, I mean, what do you are you surprised that the FDA made the decision it did? Do you think it made the right decision? How would you brand all of that?
Well, my perspective is I was disappointed for those who worked so hard on that. And I was of the view that if it got through, it could benefit a lot of people and be a net benefit for the world. I do think we have a more effective treatment for PTSD, and it would also help the area more generally. So I was sad, I was disappointed. Um, and I think the advisory committee were influenced by some political interference and some misunderstanding of the science and the mechanisms, things like functional unblinding, and that there isn't clear evidence that there's an expectancy bias driving response to psychedelic therapy. At least we didn't find support for that in psilocybin therapy for depression, and that was neglected entirely. Instead, they just saw functional unblinding and naturally assumed, therefore, expectancy bias and snake oil phenomenon. And I don't think they were right to do that. So, yeah, I don't think they read the science right. I don't know, behind the scenes what the politics were. I think there was some sort of anti-capitalist lobbying around the advisory committee event that was too easily heard and not seen as a conflict of interest. And I think that's a shame. By what I've heard since, it seems as though that lobby was heard and not seen through for what it actually was.
Hmm.
So that's disappointing. I do think it's a bump in the road. And while it could be crippling for the unfortunate people at the center of that specific effort, I do think the area more generally is still on an incremental rise and will have learned a lot from what happened there. And when I said I think the assisted psychotherapy tag was a branding problem, it's easy to be annoying and play Dr. Hindsight like that. But I did feel that for a long time that it's placing too much emphasis on one side of the coin. It's saying all the drug does is assist psychotherapy. But then you're telling that to the FDA, who don't assess and license psychotherapy. So, yeah, that as a strategy didn't work. And also, is it even right? My view is, and it's a bit like my philosophy with mind and brain, I try to hold both sides equally because they're essentially just the two sides of the same coin. So why would you're only going to blind yourself if you pay too much attention to one side? And here, my view is that probably, I don't know, and we should test it. There's a synergy between the drug action and the context, where context is an umbrella term for, yes, psychotherapy, music listening. That's easy to gloss over. And the environment, the room decoration, that's something we can control. It's hard to control stuff that happens after you have people in the clinic, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
After that life happens, it's maybe you could do some things there with peer-to-peer support and so on, but generally not easy. So you got music, you got the room, and you got the psychological support / psychotherapy. And I suspect that there's a synergy between drug and those contextual factors, otherwise known as set and setting. And actually, that's my next big study at UCSF, just starting to recruit healthy volunteers, albeit with lower than average well-being coming in. I'm kind of what's the term? Anyway, I'm kind of softly exploiting this opportunity to advertise for that new study. It's going to be recruiting from people in the Bay Area. but it's going to be a fascinating study. Yeah, I'm really excited about it.